Okay, Matt, we couldn't get you here and you've graciously agreed. Let's have a little talk about affordability. You tell me about racing's woes, affordability being the main one at the moment at the time of recording. What is going on?
Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty here, and the nitty gritty is people who suffer from gambling addiction. And there is no one, I would imagine, on planet Earth who would like anyone to suffer from gambling addiction. There's a phrase at the moment that is used in TV adverts where people are told told to gamble responsibly. But let's just think about that phrase for a moment. Like, if I said to you watching this now, what should you do irresponsibly in life? I mean, the answer is nothing, is it? Like, there is nothing as a human being that you should do irresponsibly. And when you actually think about it then, why are we telling people to gamble responsibly? I mean, just that phrase is irresponsible in its own right, because there's nothing that you should do irresponsibly. So, right from the start, you have chaos. But as I say, there is no human being on this planet that wants anyone to suffer from addiction. But human beings suffer, yeah? We're all different. We all have our issues. Everyone watching this will have something that they wish they don't do. It could be as simple as biting your nails, but there'll be something. And effectively, we are a flawed being. And if you're a lover of sci-fi movies and things like this, you'd be familiar with this concept, because people have been making movies about human beings and extraterrestrials who are flawed forever. Everyone is flawed in some way. There isn't such a thing as a perfect human being. Now, some human beings will be flawed in the realms of addiction. And it's not a gambling addiction, it's addiction. Almost every gambler who is considered a gambling addict, if they gave up gambling, would be an addict in something else. So it's not a gambling addiction, it's addiction. You know, you can give up gambling and you can spend too much money on online shopping. You can give up gambling and want to go cold water swimming every morning, because that's where you get your addiction adrenaline rush from. So it's up here that the problem is, not the gambling. And therefore, if you take action against gambling, you don't take action against addiction. And so the whole process of affordability checks and restricting the 97.2%, I think I'm right in saying, people who gamble perfectly okay without any addiction issues, is flawed from the very start. So the way I've looked at this is when there was the muting of affordability checks, when people began to get wind of this, what was racing's response? What did we go to government and suggest? What was our plan? What was our game plan? Did we go and suggest, we understand that you're worried about gambling addiction. We don't believe that this is a gambling issue. We believe it's an addiction issue. We would like to help. Bookmakers are already paying, I think it's 0.5% into gambling-related charities, etc. We would like to go to bookmakers and ask them to pay 0.6%, 0.7%, 1%, whatever figure you want to come to. 50%, obviously that would be ridiculous. We would also like to consider an addiction tax on punters. 1% out of every pound. We would like to put into gambling research phone lines for people to ring up if they feel they're in issue, gambling hospitals, whatever it is that we would come up to. And I'm no expert, this is effectively me thinking off the top of my head, but what did we come up with as an alternative to affordability checks, which clearly will not help problem gamblers? What did we come up with? Now, I would hazard a guess we came up with absolutely zilch, because we always come up with absolutely zilch. But I would love to ask the BHA what they came up with. They don't talk to me, but it would be something that hopefully one of the journalists that they do talk to, because they do have their chosen few, it would be lovely to know what was our game plan. Now, it's too late now. Nothing is going to happen or change now. We're in it. I think there are ways round it. I think there are, forms that people perhaps could produce that wouldn't involve them giving their own bank statements over in time. But the sad thing about the whole process, Simon, is that gambling addiction, nothing will change, because what's happening, an industry that everyone watching this probably knows already, but provides thousands of jobs, millions of pounds, horses are life, loads of entertainment, is it on the verge of being destroyed? Maybe that sounds extreme. I suspect it's not on the verge of being destroyed, but it's on the verge of being hit far harder than I think that most of the participants really consider. I don't think jockeys, trainers, and many owners really quite get what's going to happen. And yes, figures have been adjusted, but the big players are the ones who are going to be grouped into the addiction category, the 2.8%. And the big players are the ones who are intelligent enough to go to the black market and bet freely. And the big players are the ones that this sport relies on, not the £1-pounders, the £2-pounders, the £5-pounders, the big players. Those are the ones who are really funding the game. And if you rule those people out, then there is something huge on its way. This is a tsunami warning, and the tsunami is growing, and it's just when the wave eventually hits for me.
Set ready to go for this year's Greyhound Derby final. Falcon bounding down the straight. He's going to go on and score in the 2021 Derby final.
That was running out wide and running out there. But Romeo Magical has won the Derby.
Daytime Nemo's not going to get caught here. Daytime Nemo wins it for Graham Holland.